Hello, once more welcome to the cellar. I'm taking a little bit of a break from the electronics and other bits and pieces while I wait for some stuff to turn up and some frustrations to go away. So in this episode I'm going to be putting together a Parkside Dundas Extra Long CCT van kit that I've had lying about for a couple of weeks. And yeah, let's see how we get on with that. Yeah, this is Leopard Street. Right, so let's do something a little bit different today. I've been playing with electronics for a while, and today we'll play with this. So probably going to be a two-parter. This one, first one, let's build it, and second one, paint it. So what have we got? Well, this is the London North Power Parkside Dundas kit PC30 LNER Extra Long CCT 4-wheel. So covered carriage truck. Yes, as it says, built in two batches, 39 and 50. Vehicles used to carry parcels, mail, motor vehicles in passenger vehicle and passenger trains until the 80s. Well, I'm going to be using it as that in a sort of 1930s type configuration, so yeah, very end of 1930s. Don't care, I like the model. I have made one of these before, although that was some time ago, so let's see what we've got. And rather unfortunately I don't still have it, so I'll remove the staples first. See what we have here. So these are the wheels and buffers by the look of it. Do need to be slightly careful because this isn't actually a cutting mat. This is actually a heat mat, but there we go. So what have we got? We have metal wheels, which is always welcome. I like metal wheels. So yeah, metal wheels. Possibly metal buffers, there might be that, and bearings. So with luck this will run quite smoothly. And we then have hopefully a sheet of instructions, because without that this is going to be fun. I can get this out, don't need the bag. Two side sprues, each with a side and end and some bits of the underframe by the look of it. Yeah, we'll look at those in a minute. I assume that's the floor. Looks like a roof. And a couple of sprues to handle the sides, and some mounts for some couplings, although no actual couplings in this kit. That's cardboard. And some instructions. Oh, a piece of glazing as well, because this has got some windows. That I'm going to put to one side, because I'm not going to be fitting that just yet. Until I've painted this model, because I want to spray paint it. So let's just see what we've got and what we need to be doing with this. If I can open the instructions. So yes, so it needs some liquid cement, which I've got. Yes, very detailed bits there. So yes. So the first thing we need to do, by the look of this, is take these two side pieces. It says cement the bearings in place. So how tight a fit are they? Oh, they're a reasonably tight fit. They're obviously metal, so that's going to need some super glue. So I think the first thing I need to do is get these side frames off here. Yeah, I think is like that and that. It's got a middle bit there. I'm reasonably used to putting plastic kits together. I do quite a bit of tabletop wargaming, and a lot of the kits there are plastic. So this sort of assembly and cleanup I'm not too unfamiliar with. Slightly bowed, sort that out in a minute. Same for the other side. I am going to be cutting out certain parts of this video. I'm not going to sit here literally and make you all watch glue drying. Same way as when we come to painting, we won't be watching all of that, because I'm well aware of how tedious videos are when people do that. So yes. So that's two of those. Need to put bits in those, and I need to clean up this floor piece, which has got the remains of its mouldings on the side of it as well. Just get that with a knife. Just on that side as well. Sometimes a file would be useful for this. I don't actually have one to hand, so I'm just going to be using a knife for this. And just shave these corner pieces slightly where the mouldings have gone in, just to make it smooth. And then we have a floor, and presumably these pieces go on the bottom against that, which looks like that'll be about right. Then I'm guessing there's going to be some edges. Yeah. So that's the first job, is a dab of super glue and fit the bearings, preferably without sticking my fingers to anything. If I can manage that. I've got some tweezers which might help. So we have super glue. Now this is about as cheap as super glue gets, so hopefully this will work and won't be too bad. Tiny little bit in there. Same with that one, a bit, and that. And this is probably going to overflow and go everywhere and go horribly, but not too concerned about that because I've got plenty of time to dry. Let's do this one here first. So that goes onto there, and then needs to be pressed in, which it's not doing. In. There we are. It's pressed in and it's trying to press itself back out again. Yeah, no, it's the slight problem if the hole gets too much super glue in it. It's hydraulically locks itself and doesn't want to go in. That's hopefully that side. Now, if I remember last time I did these are actually a pretty good friction fit and do actually stay in. However, it never hurts to have a little bit of glue on these things to help hold them in place. And ideally you'd want the holes a little bit oversized. So there we have bearings fitted. And that's that. So, what does this say we now need to do? Now this suggests we build the bodywork first, which is probably not a bad idea actually, because it will hold the floor rigid. So let's see how this goes. Cement both ends into place on the floor, with the floor resting in place above the back of the buffer beams. Okay, so we'll have to look at these and see what we do. So the first thing I'm going to need to do is take that off there. So just bend that and it comes off. Clean the bottom edge up just a little bit and that's come off there. And that's showing we have a floor piece that should go on there like that. Centered. Right, so do both of those. I rather suspect I want to get the side pieces cleaned up and ready to go onto this as well before actually gluing any of this together. Make sure it's all going to fit. So that's two sides. Let's do the ends. Sorry, that's the ends. Let's do the sides. There's loads of steps and other bits and pieces on this as well, which is all good stuff. Easy to use the cutters for some of this. It's quite nice plastic. They are quite nice, these little Parkside kits. I used to have an awful lot more of these before I had a roof collapse that destroyed an awful lot of stored model railway equipment, which was slightly annoying, and that all ended up being scrapped. Hence why I don't have any particularly old stuff lurking here other than the newer old stuff I've bought since. So again, I need to take these little nubs off where I've just cut the plastic. So it just creates a little bit of a smooth edge, so when I come to put the roof on, it should stay in place. That's that one, that's this one. As if you put plastic kits together, I mean, you'll be aware there's a few little tricks you can use where you do get little nubs of plastic sticking out. A good one, for example, is wetting the surfaces with a bit of plastic glue, and then you should find you don't have too much of a problem. And these sides are also going to fit onto here. So that piece has to go on there. So get some of this, and this is Humbrol liquid poly. It's there's a lot of these glues available. This is the one I tend to use for putting a lot of model kits together. So let's try and do this so you can see what I'm doing, and that just goes there, I think. There's a little bit of work just to centre it slightly. It's not centred very well there. That should do. There's that piece. These are going to be rather fragile. More on the bottom of this. These will be rather fragile right up until the point the whole model goes together. Create a bit of a box. These buffers are probably going to need the holes drilling out a little bit. I'll have to do that shortly, and obviously they'll need super gluing in as well. So let's see if that's stuck on fairly well, and if you can see that it's not perfectly centered, but it's getting there. And if you can see, it's the side overhangs slightly on both of them. A little bit of that, a little bit more there. You don't have to put the glue on both sides, but what I find is if you do put the glue on both sides, by the time you put the brush back in, the glue has had just a few seconds to soften up the plastic, and it then sticks a lot more easily. And that one again needs centering slightly and sitting down, and that's the length of this thing. I mean, this is actually quite a decent length wagon. I don't find a coach or something I've got to hand. No, it's like the length of a Mark 1 coach. So this is fairly long, especially to say it's a four-wheel vehicle. So these are not brilliant, but from what I remember last time, it did go round the curves I had, so we should be right. Now the corners of this piece, as you can see that on the end, are chamfered slightly at 45 degrees. This is so they should, in theory, fit onto the sides of this. So we'll have to see what it says. It says you may wish to add extra weight to this model. Yes, I will be. What I'm not doing at the moment, when I finish with the roof, I won't be gluing the roof on. The roof is going to get painted separately because it's molded. I mean, this is actually molded in quite good colours. This sort of brown isn't far off what these wagons are supposed to be. And the roof, to be honest, in a pale grey looks better than it does in white. So I'm probably going to be painting that colour. And cement both sides. So that one's slightly bent, so I'll do that one second. This one's a little bit smoother. So these go. So this is actually where having a few little more markers on this would be useful, because I think that just goes adjacent to the floor. I think it does stick on the outside. So what I should be able to do now sounds like famous last words, is a bit of glue along there, a bit along there, and then a bit more all along here. Now it does say once you've assembled this to run some glue along the inside, which should apparently help with all of this. So that goes there, that goes there. It sticks on like that. Hopefully this end also sticks on. I think it's supposed to go on flush with the floor. So that's that. That's that. There is a little gap. You may be able to see some light down the inside of that. That's going to need dealing with. I'll let it join up on the ends. And the next useful trick is just run a little bit of glue on the inside of the join. What this will do, especially with liquid glue like this, that will get sucked into all the little gaps in the join on the corners. Now what this does mean is you have to be very careful at this point, because if you put your fingers too near the end, you end up with fingerprints everywhere. And ask me how I know that one. But yeah, it's been there, done that. So that's one side on. It's a fairly basic structure. Then what we now do is run some glue along this join here, bit by bit, and just add a little bit of pressure to the side to squeeze that in. You can see just holding that slightly. I'll come along and do some more of the rest of this shortly. So do a little bit more. This glue goes in both of the sides of the join and just melts the plastic very, very slightly. This isn't the properly aggressive plastic weld you can use for some of this. Move that out of the way. If you use that stuff, you really will you will literally weld the plastic together. I mean, this melts the plastic slightly, but not hugely. That goes on. As you can see, there's a little bit of glue come out the bottom. I'm not too bothered by that. And that holds the that side in place. Now, the vehicle itself is actually slightly twisted at the moment. I don't know if you can see the twist down there. It's straight there, and it's just warped just a little bit. Hopefully when I stick the underframe on, I can sort that out. As you can see, we are rocking slightly. There isn't a great deal I can actually do about that at the moment, but we shall see. So next one is going to be to try and get this on the other side. So again, glue there and there, and this time I'm not actually going to put any glue on the bottom edge of it. I will do that once the side is in place. So that's onto there. Onto there, and again just make sure it's lined up at the bottom, and then try and hold these pieces in, top and bottom, just make sure we're lined up. Now that side piece just needs pressing in slightly, which will help deal with the twist a little, I hope. It's fairly straightforward. The only reason, I picked this kit up, this was about 4 or 5 quid on eBay. I don't think I paid that much more than that for it. Probably a little bit more by the time delivery had gone in. Hornby obviously do a model of this CCT, and I'm probably going to get one at some point, because while I'll be making this and I'll be painting it, the one thing it won't have on it is any decals, at least not to start with. It's coming away at the bottom slightly, but I can deal with that, I hope. Just that, line it up with the floor. And yeah, that's in at, it's going in, it's more in at one end than it is at the other. So I shall put a bit of glue down there, just hold that in. And yeah, This is for me actually part of the appeal of 00 model railways as opposed to my other N-gauge stuff, is there are a lot more kits, and I do quite enjoy building things like this. And it's not perfect, but it is quite an enjoyable part of the hobby as far as I'm concerned, is the ability to make a few of these things. Just squeeze that side in a little bit more. The thing here is it's applying firm pressure but not too much, because otherwise you'll find your fingers will slip and you will just end up pressing the whole thing together and it will just warp and it'll just turn into a mess. So try and avoid that. A bit more down the inside, just help again soak into all the corners. That piece there needs a little bit as well. And yes, this is a bit I will probably speed up because I'm now going to have to hold this for a few minutes while this dries. So there we go. As you can see, it's a box fan. It's slightly twisted, which so yes. And that will go onto there, and then these sole bar pieces go onto the bottom. So the reason you obviously put those on second is they're spaced out according to the bits underneath, and they go in. You sort of make sure the wheels fit, but don't leave the wheels in while the glue dries. There's a trick I found years ago with making some of these kits. We'll see how it goes. This really is actually it's got quite a twist on it. It rocks. So what it actually needs is firmly locking down. That may require a little bit of reinforcement on the inside. Might have to see. And obviously these things they were used for all sorts of things. This is I'm probably going to be using it as a parcels van. They could be stuck onto passenger trains, run with the passenger trains, carrying extra cargo, really. I think they could end loading doors, so you could put cars in them. They could put all sorts of things in these, and I believe did so for quite a number of years. I've got these little blocks here which are for mounting couplings. As I say, the kit doesn't come with any. I've not actually decided what I'm going to do about that just yet, so we shall see. This says to add some weight at either ends. Trick with adding weight, this is something I found a while ago. I'll do this before I paint it, because I want to roll it around and make sure it works. Coins, 2p coins fit in quite nicely, and are basically the cheapest form of weight you can get for these things. So let's have a go at fitting one of these. Let's fit one of these end pieces. So that is going to go on there. Now there are little moulded lugs on the base. Now, to make sure that sits about upright. Again, I'm going to use capillary action to do this for me, and just touch the joins here, and what will happen is the glue soaks into the join. It can be pressed just to make sure it's actually in place properly. It will run all the way along the join and will hold the plastic pieces where I want them to be. That's there. Let's just onto that bit and then go all the way along. And you can't put the wheels in until this glue has had a chance to dry, otherwise all that happens is you just warp the ends and it all falls apart. A little bit of glue on the outside of that as well, I think. Just help. This liquid glue runs very nicely into all the gaps. There are several other ones. I mean, this is the Humbrol. I have some of the Tamiya glue as well, and they do a really, really thin one called extra thin, and it's extremely good at running into gaps. This is where I'm looking down the ends, and again you can see the twist a little bit here. That will matter actually, because that is going to make running a little bit more awkward. So I might need to find a way of sorting that, I think. And that's going to go in there. You see this one here is a little bit bent, but thankfully it's bending in the right direction, by which I mean the glue will actually hold it nicely, whereas if it was bending the other way it would cause a bit more of a problem. So I'll come in here, fit that end, and then fit that end, and what that's going to do is hold up against the bit in the middle, which will straighten the cell bar out, I hope, fairly nicely. So I just need to run that way, and that again needs a bit more glue just down the inside, which will help hold it. That's the delight of plastic kits, they go together quite nicely. A lot of the gaming kits I do are resin, or God forbid resin with a bit of metal added to them, and they are an absolute nightmare to put together. At least some of them certainly can be. So that goes on, that gives me the cell bar, which I say is a little bit twisted, which is going to be a slight problem. I mean, I can sort of hold it without the twist a little bit, but think about how to brace that internally to deal with that. Now there's all sorts of bits of brake gear and brake rigging and things to go under this as well, which will go on later. What I want to do first is get this chassis sorted, dry enough that I can fit the wheels, and see how well it rolls. I mean, actually, to be honest, a vehicle this size, this would be a prime candidate actually for some little bits of etching on the underframe and compensating or springing the axles slightly. So if I just, and the bearings are quite sharp on these, I'll just hold that roughly in place, it should work. Same at the other end. I just want to let the glue dry a little bit more before I put these together. You don't want to leave it too long, because if they dry too much, they'll grip the bearings too much. So let's try and put a wheel in now and just see how this goes. It's in that side and in that side. If you grip it too tightly, it stops. That's rolling nicely. And there's a very limited clearance actually to the vehicle's chassis, so the base plate. But there is clearance, which is the only bit that really matters at this point. So let me just put that into there. Try to gently get that one into there, and then again close them up a bit. Seems quite free rolling, which will do, that's good. I have had a few of these wagons where I've come back to them the following day and something somewhere has contracted. And as a result, it no longer wants to stick together properly. Put a little bit more glue around the ends just to help. And this side one here needs glue going down the outside of it as well, just to, again, this will soak into all of the little joins. Just melt the plastic slightly and it'll help it set. And that is the basic bodywork. So, what do we do on the underframe? Now the instructions are a little bit vague on this. We have brake levers. There's a cross piece, which is that, which looks like it fits to this on one side. Only on one side. Looks like we don't use all of these pieces on here. So whether this is designed to use with another kit as well, I don't know. There are brake hangers and stuff as well for this, which again, I want the rest of the glue to set a little bit more before they go on. So that's the brake hanger. Now, according to that, the instructions rather. And it's got pegs on one side. It says cross shaft. What pieces have I got for this? Cross shaft, apparently there isn't one by the look of this. Let's have a look. Spacer on the sole bar indicates the correct spacing for the brake shoes. We'll do that later. See, that's, yes, that one's gripping. See, this one here's bowed out a little bit already. That just needs to come in a bit. Hold that. So yes, right. So that crossbeam. No, this piece here must be the crossbeam because that fits onto the vacuum cylinder. Right. So this actually looks fairly straightforward. There's a piece goes towards one end. So. This bit looks like it goes there. So I shall attempt to do that. Glue on that bit, glue on that bit. Pick this back up. Can't emphasize enough that tweezers are a really useful thing when you're building model kits. It'd be nice to be able to get these pieces in situ the first time, but there we go. It's going to come out. So that piece looks like that goes about there. There appears to be some detailing on it that you won't actually get to see because it's on the inside for some reason, but there we go, never mind. And then once that's loosely on, just a bit more glue, which again will just go into all the little joins. You're not going to be able to see a great deal of this brake rigging from the outside once it's done. Roll it again, I like doing that. So yes, there's a little bit of a test there. What do we now need? I now need a brake cylinder. The brake shoes will go on shortly. There are coupling hooks as well. I suspect they're going to be quite fragile to remove from here, so I have to think about that. I'm not putting the brake shoes on just yet either, so that's a brake hanger. So that's a vacuum cylinder which goes over here, and it says these bits here come off. So I shall remove that. And by the look of this, what we're going to have is a brake cylinder somewhere around here. Well, it's going to need a little bit of work because it's not flat on the back of it. If it's not flat, it won't stick on properly. That'll do. Doesn't say which way around that goes, but that'll go on there somewhere. There is a cross piece that will go on, which will connect to it. So let's sort that out. So that fragile end there first. Yeah. See, these again ideally would actually be little pieces of wire. If I had little pieces of wire, I would possibly be using them instead, but I don't. So that'll do. This gives me this tiny little piece here, which, as you can see, has got a few little moulding stubs sticking out the side of it because I've tried to cut it carefully, but there we go. Just clean those off. That's one of the things I really regret actually about the the dearth of little model railway shops and game kit shops these days. Kits like this are wonderful, but the moment you end up having to pay postage on them, they start getting quite expensive. So yeah, it's not ideal. Right, so that needs picking up because that is going to go, let's see if you can see this, that is going to go in here. Interesting, because that means these brake hangers are poking out far too far. They need to be inboard a little bit more. But the key there is I can work out where I want the vacuum cylinder to be. So that's got to go just loosely in here for now. Because the idea is that cross piece touches the end of that. So we're going to be, that's going to be there. Well, it obviously won't be there, it'll be further up. That's going to be there and needs to come over. So do I have anywhere within easy reach a pen? Because what I want to do is that, and then that, and that. This is where a more modern kit would probably have markings on the base here to tell you exactly where this piece needed to go. But I don't know how old these kits are. These are quite old kits though. So rubber glue around there like that. And then on goes the vacuum brake cylinder like that. Which I'll try and line up on those marks I've just made. So that's that. And then comes the tricky bit, which is to try, if I can, try and get this rod to sit on 3 points of contact, which is probably going to be quite difficult. So that does need to come over a little bit more. Yeah, that piece isn't getting fitted. It doesn't fit correctly across. I may have to stick a piece of wire or something on that later. That's not going to go in. Basically, it won't stick to both ends, which is the problem. Right. So then we have brake hangers which go on the outside, and so it says if that's like so, there's a brake lever there which goes on. That way up, get it on the right way around. So let's fit one of those. And let's cut through. It's only really when you start putting together some older kits like this that you really appreciate how good some of the more modern kits actually are. I mean, this isn't bad. It is quite enjoyable to assemble. But there are a few bits that just don't fit very well. Right, so that is going to be a brake lever which needs to go there by the look of that. So we shall put glue there and all around there. And I hope that will fit. And again, the idea is this glue will hold it briefly. While it cures. So that's there. Yeah, only part of that actually sticks at this end. Just need to try and make sure that's aligned at least remotely correctly that side. And then that sort of hangs on the side of the vehicle quite nicely. I'll let that one hang and I'll put one on the other side on. So again, just clean through these. I am going to be attempting some etched brass kits, sort of nickel plated and all that sort of stuff kits at some point. Don't quite know when yet because I haven't got any, but I have a load of signals I need to build, and as you've seen I have some Hornby ones which are in scale. I'm just not quite sure in scale with what. So right, this one is now going to go on same place on the outside. Although there is a raised piece here, so it'll have to stick to the raised piece as well. We shall fit this to about this one nicely about there. I think it goes on. Yeah, brake hangers on both sides. That needs bending in a little bit, otherwise it's going to foul things as it goes past. Right, that's that. Now, before I go any further with this, I will have another go at that. I want to let the glue on this dry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on the track and push it backwards and forwards a little bit, which I shall show. And then we shall leave it for a while. Sorry about that. Yeah, so here we are. This is the curve it's probably going to struggle with the most, so let's see how well this handles. Firstly, we are free rolling. That's, sorry, so the camera actually sees it. So yeah, the wobble is still there, which I suspect is going to cause all sorts of problems. And we come around here onto the tighter corner, and it's immediately derailed. That I suspect is because the wheels aren't square properly. Yeah, so it derails on that curve straight away. This outer curve higher friction, but again I strongly suspect the problem here is well, partly the lack of weight, which isn't going to help, but also the fact that it's slightly twisted. So I shall have to have a look at that, but I shall be back probably in the next episode. We'll have a look at finish the assembly on this, and then that's that. A little quick further test. Added a bit of weight, and now it stays on the rails. So here we go. You can hear the flanges rubbing. It's obviously fairly high friction on the corners. It rolls quite nicely outside that. So yes, I just need to work on the body shell twist slightly and stick some weight in it. So that'll be the next job. Yeah, and with that, I think we're just going to we'll leave it there for today. I think I need to let that glue dry and have a little bit of think about how to sort that body shell twist out. And yeah, be back in the next one with finishing off the building and the painting. And I'll see you then.